The morning sun had barely risen over the busy city when people began to notice something unusual. Among the rushing cars, the loud horns, and the endless flow of pedestrians, a young woman stood quietly on the side of the street, holding a small cardboard sign. Her clothes were simple, almost worn, and her long dark hair moved gently with the wind. To anyone passing by, she looked like just another struggling soul, trying to survive another day. But what made people slow down and look twice was not the sign in her hands. It was her face. Her face was familiar, very familiar. Some people whispered to each other as they walked past. Others stared with confusion, trying to remember where they had seen her before. Because the girl standing on that street corner was not just anyone. Just a few months ago, she had been seen stepping out of luxury cars, attending charity galas, and appearing in social media photos inside one of the largest mansions in the city. Her name was Aria Kensington. She was known as the daughter of a powerful business tycoon, a girl who had grown up surrounded by wealth, elegance, and opportunity. A girl who had never needed to worry about money, food, or even the smallest comfort. And yet, on that bright morning, Aria Kensington stood on the street like someone the world had forgotten. But before we continue this emotional story, take a moment right now. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that every life can change in a single moment, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in hope, and subscribe to Deep Night Stories so you never miss another powerful story like this one. Now, let's continue. Just 6 months earlier, Aria's life had been the kind most people only dreamed about. Her family owned one of the largest technology companies in the region. Their mansion stood on a hill overlooking the city, surrounded by tall gates, fountains, and perfectly trimmed gardens. Inside, everything sparkled with luxury. Crystal chandeliers hung from high ceilings, and marble floors reflected the warm glow of golden lights. But behind all that beauty, Aria's life had always felt strangely empty. Her father, Victor Kensington, was a man respected and feared in the business world. He believed in power, discipline, and reputation above everything else. To him, emotions were weaknesses. Kindness was a distraction, and people who struggled were simply those who had failed to work hard enough. Aria had grown up hearing those beliefs again and again. But deep inside, her heart had always been different. Whenever she traveled through the city in the back seat of their black luxury car, she would look out the window and notice the faces her father ignored. The street vendors working under the hot sun, the old men sitting quietly on sidewalks, the children selling flowers at traffic lights. Those images stayed with her. Sometimes she secretly used her allowance to buy food for people in need. Sometimes she visited small community shelters without telling anyone. She believed the world was meant to be shared, not controlled. But one day, everything changed. Her father discovered what she had been doing. To him, it was not kindness. It was embarrassment. He believed that someone with their family name should never be seen among ordinary struggles, as he called them. Their reputation, he insisted, had to remain perfect. The argument that followed was the worst fight they had ever had. For the first time in her life, Aria spoke openly about what she believed. She told him that money without compassion meant nothing. That power without kindness created only loneliness. Her father's face turned cold, and in a moment that would change her life forever. He gave her a choice. She could live by his rules, or she could leave. Aria did not answer immediately. She simply looked around the enormous house she had lived in all her life. The shining floors, the expensive paintings, the walls filled with family photos that suddenly felt empty. Then she quietly walked to her room, packed a small bag, and left the mansion without looking back. At first, she thought it would only be temporary. She believed she could find work, rent a small apartment, and build a simple life. After all, she had an education and determination. But the real world was far harsher than she had imagined. Without her father's name or influence, doors that once opened instantly now remained firmly closed. Companies rejected her applications. Landlords refused to rent to someone without stable income. The money she had saved disappeared quickly. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Eventually, Aria found herself living in a small shelter and searching for any kind of work she could find. The world she had once observed from behind car windows was now the world she lived in. Yet strangely, something inside her began to change. For the first time, she truly understood the struggles she had once only seen from a distance. She met people who worked harder than anyone she had ever known, yet still struggled to survive. She saw kindness shared between strangers who had almost nothing. Those moments slowly reshaped her understanding of life. Then one morning, while standing on that same street corner, holding a cardboard sign that simply read, *, looking for work, any work. *, someone suddenly stopped walking. A man in his late 50s stood staring at her with disbelief. His name was Samuel Ortega, a retired school principal who had spent decades working with struggling communities. He had once attended a charity event hosted by Aria's father, and he immediately recognized her face. But what shocked him was not who she was. It was where she was. Samuel could not understand how the daughter of one of the richest men in the city could be standing alone on the street. Instead of walking away like everyone else, he approached her quietly and offered to buy her breakfast. That simple act became the beginning of a new chapter. Over breakfast, Aria shared the truth about what had happened. There was no bitterness in her voice, only honesty. Samuel listened carefully. And then he made a decision. He told her about a small community learning center he helped manage. The center supported children from low-income families who struggled in school. They needed someone patient, educated, and kind to help teach reading and writing. The pay was small, very small, but Aria accepted immediately. Days turned into weeks again, but this time something beautiful began to grow. The children loved her. She taught them not only lessons from books, but also confidence and hope. Her warmth made the small classroom feel brighter. Parents began thanking her for the difference she was making in their children's lives. Word about the center slowly spread online. Volunteers started joining. Donations arrived from people inspired by the project. What had once been a tiny learning center soon became a growing community hub. And strangely, one day a familiar name appeared among the anonymous donors. Victor Kensington. Aria never spoke to him directly, but deep down she understood something important. Her father had been watching. Months later, a large envelope arrived at the learning center. Inside was an official document confirming a major donation that would fund the expansion of the entire project. Attached was a short handwritten note. It simply said, "I finally understand what real success looks like." Aria read the note silently. Tears filled her eyes, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of healing. Before this story ends, we want to ask you something from the heart. If Aria's journey touched you in any way, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to Deep Night Stories so more people can hear stories that remind us what truly matters in life. And here is a special request just for you. If you believe kindness can change the world, write the word hope in the comments below, so we know you're part of this community of people who still believe in second chances. Because sometimes the richest people in the world are not the ones living in mansions. Sometimes they are the ones brave enough to walk away from everything discover who they truly are, and then return to lift others with them.